Hi, everybody. This is JoAnne Eisen with Reach the Unlimited, and I am very excited to welcome my guest, Marion Andrews, today. And she's got an amazing story that she's going to be sharing with us. So thank you so much for your time, Marion, and taking the time to be able to share your experience, which has been a pretty wild ride for a while with everybody. Can you
Yes, it
tell everybody a
has.
little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Marion Andrews, and I live in upstate New York. So we're in the cold and snow tonight. We're supposed to be getting a lot of snow overnight, just so you know the people that are in the sunshine could have a little sympathy.
We have a
But
lot of sympathy for you all on the forefront. Hi, Marcia. Hi, Michelle.
I'm a best-selling author of my book called Gloriously Grateful,
Mhm.
and I am a teacher and a healer. And all of those things came about in the last 7 years. So prior to that, I never thought about any of these things at all. I had no intention of being a writer or a teacher or a healer. So
Mhm.
it's a new life.
Yeah, it is. So I want to just say to Michelle, on Thursdays, these are my interview hours. So I don't do messages today. So come and see me again at another time when I'm doing that. But today is an interview. So no messages today. So you started doing Reiki because you came across it because of an illness that you have. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Certainly. I had been not feeling very well for about 6 months, off and on, all sorts of trying to figure out what was going on. And you know what that's like, back and forth to the doctors, try this, try that. And we couldn't come up with anything. And I'd heard about not actually Reiki, but I was interested in a different type of healing, anything at all, to see if we could figure this out. So I Googled a center in our area, and I went down and had my first Reiki treatment.
Mhm.
And it was amazing. I was like, wow, I need to do this. I want to do this. So I signed up to take classes in August. And somehow or other, that Reiki brought to the forefront my physical problem, which turned out to be colon cancer. So unknown to me, and not anyone else in our family had colon cancer. So it was a real surprise to the doctors. I had had a colonoscopy only 2.5 years before that. Always clear, always clean, no polyps. So to suddenly be faced with colon cancer, and it was stage 3B at that point, it had spread to quite a few lymph nodes. So it was like, whoa. But what a fortunate thing that I went and had a Reiki treatment.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I didn't get to take the Reiki training at that time, but the master that worked with me had come through and taught me a little more. And she came through with giving me Reiki quite often, which was very good, because by August, this happened all the middle of June. And by August 1st, I was in my first chemo treatment.
I want to go back and say, because the way you worded, I want to make sure that everybody knows it wasn't the Reiki that caused the cancer. It
Oh,
was that the
no.
Reiki treatment was able to help you identify that this was a problem, and then you
Yes.
got medical help.
Yeah,
Because
I'm sorry
Reiki,
if, yeah, I'm sorry if it sounded like that. That's not what I meant. I
yeah.
just, I mean that when you're working with energy healing and the angels,
Mhm.
things that are sometimes hidden or
Mhm.
not diagnosed yet in the body will come to the forefront so that you can get the proper medical care. It wasn't Reiki that caused the cancer, no, but
Right.
Reiki helped me to
Mhm.
identify it, and then helped me with the nausea and all of the horrible stuff that goes along with 6 months of chemo.
So you didn't have this any history of cancer in your family or colon cancer in your family, but yet,
No,
you ended up having this problem, and it was something that you knew something was off, but they couldn't really figure out
no.
what was wrong with you. So how did that all process go, and how in your pain and in your healing, how is Reiki beneficial? And then I also want to get to the integrative energy therapy, because like you, I'm actually an energetic, can't even say it.
An IET?
IET, as I know. Every time I say, it's like I do it and I can't even say it. I've actually certified in that as well, which I know is amazing. It's so amazing in the healing and the shifting of energy and the pulling out, and it even goes back into past lives. It's really an amazing therapy. But how did that process work for you, and what were your benefits from that?
Well, the diagnosis was very difficult because I didn't have any history, and I never had any problem in that area. So, but I kept getting this really noise in my stomach, and my stomach never makes noise, and it sounded like Niagara Falls. It was just whooshing and undulating. And then when I started throwing up, I said to my doctor, this was right after having the Reiki treatment, and I felt so settled and so calm about it. And I said to him, look, there is something wrong, because unless I am pregnant, I do not throw up. And he said, well, if you're pregnant, we're going to write about this in the medical journal, because you're 66 and don't even have the plumbing, you know. So it was just with absolute assurance. I knew that we were going to find it, and then using the Reiki later just to keep my body more balanced. As you know, chemo is putting terrible poisons into your body, and I'd always said I wouldn't do it, but with stage 3B colon cancer, it kind of is like, when you're faced with a decision, you make it at that time. And I felt it was the right decision. And it's a very serious time when they say, this is your options, okay? And by this time, I'd also started working a little bit or studying a little bit about the angels. And so I kind of went, okay, is this what I'm supposed to do? And I felt from head to toe, yes, that was what I needed to do. And it was the right decision for me at that time. So I got through all of that and got to the next February, and everything was fine. Like, okay, you're done. You're finished. See you in a year. And so I went and took some more Reiki training, and I started getting clients. I started working with the YMCA here, doing Reiki. They would book it and I would do it. I also did it for the senior center there. So it was like, whoa, we're having a great time. I'm all okay. And then I went back in February again for the next series of testing, the ultrasound. I think it was a PET scan. And no, the cancer was back in a different place. And so by that time, then it got designated stage 4. And I thought, well, if we get to stage 5, I know that's going to be the end. And so we don't want to do that. But the angels, the Reiki, I was only hearing, no, you'll be okay. You will be okay. And I trusted that.
So interesting that you say that. A couple things in what you said. So for me, when I'm doing my mediumship or when I'm working with my guides or whatever, and I hear things, you know, you're always in that, am I making this up? Is this me? Am I crazy? Should I be committed? Which some people would say I should. But how did you get through that process of really trusting what you were hearing and not feeling like you were crazy?
Well, I've always kind of been the crazy one in our family anyway, you know. So.
I hear you on that one.
So, but I don't really know the answer to that, JoAnne. I just had this absolute, I said, am I going to die? And the answer was so clear in my mind. No, you are going to be okay. Do the things that you are seeing. And it was just that absolutely clear. And I don't know, I trusted it because it sounded like it knew what it was talking about.
That's all you need. I love that, because what you're saying is that you trusted that inner knowing, your inner guidance, that you
Yes.
knew, and you had a relationship with before this anyway. You just may not have been as aware of it, because we all
Absolutely.
have that gut, feeling that
Yes.
this is the truth.
I've always said that I'm very spiritual. I'm
Mhm.
not very religious because I'm not very good at following rules. So, but um, so yes, I guess it went back when I was in my 20s. I had a lot of contact with people, with mediums, and I dismissed it all later and didn't come back to it. But when that was happening to me, it was like, yeah, this is right. And I think that if you just sit back and trust your own inner heart, you will get the right answer.
You will.
You may not like that answer.
I've been there many a time.
So in the next year, when I had to go back again for another 6 months of chemo, I started. At that time, I was looking at more spiritual things, and I found out about a labyrinth that is a public labyrinth. So I was walking this labyrinth on the night before my chemo treatment. Every second week, I'd be out there walking and trying to get get my courage up to go back to the treatment center. And I'm in the middle of this, and I'm stopped, and there was a statue, an iron statue in the middle, and I was contemplating that and saying, thank you for the treatment. I was trying to psych myself up by saying, thank you for the treatments. I know they're horrible, but they're killing the cancer. And I was concentrating on that. And then I heard this again said, it's gloriously grateful. And I said, whoa. I wonder what that is. But I liked the name. So when I got home, I bought the domain name, gloriouslygrateful.com, not knowing what it was going to be. Or I was thinking maybe I'll write a blog about my experiences or something. And I started meditating because, of course, when you're doing treatment, they tell you should try meditating, you should try journaling. So I just, tried all of these things. And in my meditation, I kept hearing gloriously grateful. And I would say, okay, well, then, like, what is it? And I am very frank with my angels and spirit guests and say, okay, I'm not going to get it if you're subtle, because I won't trust it. So, like, say it loud and say it clear.
I love that.
And I kept hearing the voice that I finally identified as Archangel Gabriel saying, it's a book. And I said, oh, no, I don't think so. And for 2 years, I heard, it's a book. It's a book. It's like, no, I don't want to write a book. But you know what? He won.
Exactly. And that's listening to the breadcrumbs as they're falling on the ground. I'm going to keep following until I get to wherever I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Yes.
One of the things you said, though, that's interesting is that you had said before you had this experience that you would not do treatments.
Yes.
Which I think a lot of people feel that way. And when you got to the point where you had to make that decision, because I know a lot of us have people that either have cancer or they've had cancer. I mean, we're always dealing with someone in our family, somebody close to us that is dealing with cancer. How did you maneuver through trusting that? Because I know that a lot of people would make that decision based on the poison that goes into your body, the fear of what it's going to do to you, the fear of whether it will work or not, all these fears that go with that. How did you maneuver through that process?
Well, it was kind of an interesting thing because I like to have all the facts before I do something or make a decision. So I said, okay, so what are my chances if I don't have any treatment? If I just, you have the surgery, take out the cancer, and then that's it.
Mhm.
And they said, you have about a 20% chance of living.
Wow.
And I
That's
said,
not good
and
odds.
if I have the chemo,
Mhm.
and the oncologist looked at me and he said, it reverses. You have about an 80% chance of surviving this. So
Wow.
when faced with 20%,
Mhm.
80%,
Mhm.
it was like, okay, I
Mhm.
hate it. I don't agree with this, what it's going to do to my body, but obviously that's a better outcome.
Right.
And I had to trust the science at that time that
Mhm.
that was going to be, because I had seen people, people that you feel like they die from the chemo rather than the cancer,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
chemo it's just not a pleasant thing.
Right.
However, it worked.
Mhm.
It worked. I'm here to say it worked.
Yes. And I've known a couple of people that have had cancer and they've done chemo and they're still here today.
Yes.
So, and then I know somebody who didn't do the treatment and she's not here today. So,
Right.
I think the reason I ask that question is I want people to really, because especially in this world of woo woo, then
Yeah.
people have a lot of judgments to decisions that we make in that kind of realm. And I
Yeah.
want people to really think about, you can, and I come from a very strong nutritional background. So I would be like, yeah, that's like, no, not happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but you have to make those decisions to what's best for your life when you get to that point. And that's what I really wanted to hone in on.
Yeah.
Is that
That's
is
right.
really good.
It was the science. I mean, I respect and I just admire
Mhm.
people like Louise Hay,
Mhm.
who defeated cancer on her own, positive affirmations,
Mhm.
good eating, and everything like that. But I was 66 years old
Mhm.
and I did not want to mess around, I guess,
Mhm.
with something that maybe 20% chance of living is not very good.
I know it's
It's like, I don't like those numbers. So I had to trust the science.
Mhm.
And I had a very good team of people here in Rochester. There's a couple amazing
Mhm.
cancer clinics, and they just treated me so well. The third time that the cancer came back in a different place,
Mhm.
it was bad. It was really bad. I got a staph infection in my port. I had all sorts of issues. In fact, I was in the emergency one Saturday night and they asked me if I had a DNR. It was like,
Wow.
and I'm thinking, hey, you guys, you said I wasn't going to die. Like, what's going on here? Like, where are you?
Take
So,
responsibility for your words.
so and then again, the angels and the spirit guides gave me this absolute assurance that no, get through this, do what they say, you are going to be okay. You have work left to do.
Mhm.
So
So
that's
do you feel like, because I feel like, you bring up Louise Hay and there's other people like even Wayne Dyer, he did it for a long time until he didn't, right? I mean, we
right.
all are going to die sometime. And that's the one thing we have to realize is that we're not going to live forever. We are going to eventually die. But there's so much judgment to it. And it's okay to say, I'm going to think what I create, and that's what we should do. But I feel like we all have our own path because now you're able to share with people, and not everybody's into woo woo, but you
No.
have a message that you can share with anybody, is making the decisions to have this kind of treatment and to go through that process is just as important as the mind over matter, I feel.
Well, I do too. Uh, it helps to have um, a lot of background. I
Mhm.
read a lot of
Mhm.
books when I was in my 20s. I was really into positive thinking, and
Mhm.
the book that I mentioned in my book, that
Mhm.
Psycho-Cybernetics by
Mhm.
Matthew Maltz, absolutely affected me the most at that time. Was that okay? If you can train your mind to do this, then you can continue to do it. So I didn't know that I was going to need that kind of
Yeah.
thing 40 years later. I
Right.
didn't know that my attitude of always, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Mhm.
That was always something like, I didn't ever think of things I've had some bad marriages and I had all sorts of stuff. But to me, it was always okay. You were supposed to learn something. You weren't doing something quite right here, obviously. And so now you have another chance.
Mhm.
And that's how that attitude helped me a lot. So, I think that the important thing is that you start working on your attitude right now.
Exactly.
Don't wait until you have something very drastic to deal with.
Mhm. I agree. And it's something that's a daily process too, because one day I'm sure just as you went through the treatment, you had your good days and your bad days. Well, we still have them.
Yes,
And, we always are having to course correct or come back to where am
absolutely.
I at or what am I love what you said, because that's really my whole big lesson for people is to look at what you're learning. You're going through this experience for a lesson. And the great thing about yours is that you're able to share with other people about your process, which is unique to you, but it also is going to shine light on other people who are going to go through a similar thing and be okay with the fact that I'm going to go the scientific way, because it's
Yes.
not a wrong thing to do
No,
that.
no. And I would have, 20 years ago, I would have told you that that was the most ridiculous thing in the whole world you could ever do, you
Right.
know. And in my family, I'm one of eight. I'm the youngest, and
Oh,
I was the one that ate the whole wheat bread and drank the water and did all these things that, like,
yeah.
oh, I'm not eating white bread, and I'm the one that ended up with colon cancer. So
Mhm.
you know there's a lesson in there, I'm sure. I don't
Absolutely.
know what it is. I might have to wait till I get to the next level to find out what
Well,
that
but
lesson was.
I feel like a part of it is you being able to share your story. Like for me, I have a really strong background in nutrition and,
Hmm.
exercising and taking care of your body and mind over matter. I mean, I've just gone the gamut of that kind of wellness, mind, body, and spirit
Hmm.
wellness. But we still have certain things in our life, I believe, that we're going to experience because we're there to be a teacher and also to be taught. And that's what
Yes.
I feel like you went through because and it's funny because a lot of, well, I don't want to say a lot, but several people that I know have had similar experiences, were really health oriented, did everything right, but yet they had these physical issues. And I think
Hmm.
it just reminds us that we have to enjoy life because life is short and we are not going to live forever. Well, I imagine if we really developed our spiritual well being, we could do it, but nobody's achieved that yet.
Well,
So,
even Louise Hay didn't do it.
no.
So,
So we
but
are going to go to the
it,
other.
it is important that it's a choice every day. It
Exactly.
is a choice every day. And I'm a person that really hates routine. You
Mhm.
know, I was married in the 60s, and, the television at that time was, oh, housework was done like this. And Monday you did the ironing, and Tuesday or the washing. And I said to myself when I got married, if I have to do the laundry every Monday, there is not going to be any laundry being done in my lifetime, because I just didn't like that.
Yeah.
However, I have learned that routines are really important for spiritual growth.
Mhm.
And I have a routine now that every day I contact the angels, I talk to my spirit guides,
Mhm.
I journal, and I meditate. And meditating was the hardest thing in the world for me. And now I'm teaching classes in meditation. So, you know, we can all get through this. Really, we can.
So talk, because that's a big thing that I deal with a lot with people is not feeling like they cannot sit and meditate. I want to go back to, if you guys don't know what a labyrinth is, and put it in the chat,
Oh,
because I think everybody in this group will know. If you don't know, we'll tell you what a labyrinth is. But meditation is something that a lot of people try to avoid because they feel like they can't quiet their mind, that, they have expectations or whatever. How did you go through the process of becoming still and quiet in meditation?
well, I first used a guided meditation
Mhm.
um, from one of the online ones, Calm or Inner, whatever that one is. Anyway, and I was still always you know, flying around like what's for dinner, and I have this on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
And I just gradually discussed it with myself and with my spirit and said, I really feel like I need to know how to do this, and I really feel like it's good. And I got the answer to that was like, you're being too hard on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can meditate for half a minute. You can pause. And that's what I teach now. You can just pause in your day and say, okay, I'm realigning, I'm grounding, I'm getting into my heart space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to approach this next thing through love and gratitude. And that's a meditation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really need to sit there for an hour in the yoga pose.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful if you could do that. I can't. So I meditate often,
Mm-hmm.
but I do have developed a practice of 20 minutes. And it happened with guided meditation, using a mantra.
Mm-hmm.
I love mantras. They really help me to zone into my breathing. I also, in the meditation classes, I also teach different kinds of breathing so you can find the best way for you to settle in. You know, there's box breathing, there's belly breathing, there's alternate nostril breathing. There's probably 20 or 30 different ways to get yourself settled. So I do teach that when I teach different ways and let the people choose their way to settle in. And it's just been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been amazing. I also, it was quite interesting because Sunny Dawn Johnson, who many people are aware of,
Mm-hmm.
asked me to contribute to a book on 5-minute meditations.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing I ever wrote. That's the first book I ever was published in. And it was a meditation. And it was like, wow, I really must have learned something because now I get to write about meditation. And the meditation came to me so easily. I just know that it was divinely helped in there. I know that's real woo woo, but it is what happened because I could not have written it on my own. I was still too hung up on, I don't know how to meditate,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess I
Well,
do.
well, that's what you just said, though, is the reason that people have trouble meditating because they're hung up on the expectation of meditation
Yes.
versus doing it in your own way. Like when I first started meditating, I literally walked because there was no way I was going to sit still for 2
Right.
seconds and quiet
Right.
my mind. So by just walking and being out in nature, easily I was able to just surrender to what was around in my environment and work at not worrying about my problems or whatever. So I
Right.
feel like there's expectations that we have about meditation that needs to be broken. And it really is like I couldn't meditate either. Now I can sit for an hour in the
Yes.
peace and the quiet and do fine. I know how to
Yeah.
quiet my mind, but that didn't come overnight. And still to this day, I also am aware of the days that I need to have a guided meditation or music or something that's keeping my mind a little more busy than other days when I can just sit in the quiet. So we have to be aware of our body and our emotions at that
Right.
time.
And also like some people use different techniques, but when a thought comes to me that is not not a thought I want to have happen, I just imagine it on a cloud and it's just blowing away and it's just moving over there. And I'll say, I'll look at you later.
I
And
love it.
off it goes. And then I'm back to being centered. And so you have to find what works for
Right.
you. But I think that if you just start with 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. You don't have to meditate for an hour to start. Like just work on concentrating on that 2 minutes, and then it'll be 3, and then it'll be 5, and who knows where it'll go from there.
So hold on, I have to block somebody. Okay. So the thing about meditation, though, is not having an expectation and just
Yes.
allowing it to happen. And that's, I think, the biggest
Yes.
problem for people.
Yes.
But you said something, I'm sorry, I had a troll, so I got rid of the troll and it made me forget what I was going to ask you. I was hoping that would remind me, but it didn't. Meditation is very important for what reasons? What does it help us with?
Well, if you want to do the science,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've proven meditation helps to with your heart health,
Mm-hmm.
with your nervous system, all of those things. But for me, mostly meditation helps me to stay in touch with the spirit in me.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe I'm a spirit with a body. And I mean, I just have to have a body because, walking around as a spirit on earth isn't accepted. So they gave me this body,
Yes.
and they gave my legs to Tina Turner, which is another thing that happened. That isn't, but I want to be coming from the spirit all the time. I want to be in touch with that. And meditation reminds me of that. It gets me there for whatever, 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And then later in the day, when something is going crazy and chaos is happening, I can go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I can just, okay, I'm back.
Well, the other thing that you said, though, that's a big part of it is when you're doing meditation and you're paying attention to your breath, both of those together really help. Scientifically, it's proven calm down your entire system.
Absolutely.
So the two of them working together, I mean, like you said, it doesn't have to be a 30-minute or a 2-hour meditation, even just a few minutes of being aware of your breath and then going within. Like, I love what you said, right? It's all going back to the divine being within us because I'm with you. I agree that we're a soul here. And we had to pick these bodies. Next time I'm going to have a better checklist up there. And I'm going to say, you know what? I did that. Now I'm going to do this. Okay. We're going to work on this one. No, we're all here for an experience.
Yes.
I think that's true, Eddie.
And I think as well, there is, many opportunities, that I really firmly believe I was put here for a purpose. And I always, from when I was little, I used to sit my dolls up and teach school. So I always thought that if I wanted to be a teacher, that's what I had to do. But it didn't work out that way. And one day when I was walking the labyrinth, actually, and I was asking again for the 100,000th time in my lifetime, why am I here? What is my purpose? And it was absolutely clear. You are a teacher and a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I got to go back to college. I don't. And then my daughter, who is a wise old soul, said, Mom, you teach all the time.
Yeah.
She said, you do not have to go anywhere to teach. You teach by how you live. You teach every time you do a Reiki session. You teach when you do IET. You teach people to relax. You teach. So I said, oh, good. My daughter took me right off the hook. Don't have to go to college.
Well, I think that we underestimate when we're not really connected to what we do naturally. We think that we have to go get this degree from some college to be worthy of doing something where we've all been born with particular gifts. Like some are more worker bees, some are more teachers, some are more like I have a friend who's in mediumship and he wants to become not a priest, but something along that line, whatever. Wait, I have a question though. I will come back to that. Somebody did not know what a labyrinth is. So do you want to tell people what a labyrinth is?
Okay. A labyrinth, actually, if you look it up on Google, you'll get pictures of hundreds. Mm-hmm. It is a path that you walk on, usually stones. Sometimes it's, if it's inside, it might be marble. But it's a definite spiritual path that you walk around and around, which sounds, when I'm saying this now, it sounds very crazy. But you walk around and around, meditating or with intention to, I guess you're really learning to meditate as well. And then you get to the center, and they strongly suggest that you spend a few minutes in gratitude, in recognizing what you've been doing. Mm-hmm. And then you just turn around and you walk all the way out again. So it's an absolute geometric pattern that has been proven to bring your mind to a more quiet place, to give you more peace. And I just had so many wonderful experiences walking that labyrinth on the Thursday afternoon before I had to go Friday morning for more treatment. And at first I thought it was a pretty crazy thing. Yeah, I'm going to walk in a circle on these stones and that's going to make me, sure. But
you
I
can
trust
find
it.
them. You can Google it and you can find them, and they really are very, very soothing. And
Mhm.
it's in a they come in different patterns, but the pattern is meant for you not to really think about where you're going, but it's about kind of going into a meditative state where you
Yes.
don't have to think about it. But also the way the pattern works, it does something to your energy system as
Yes.
well. It
It
calms it
does.
down, and yeah,
There's
it's really a
a
peaceful
real
thing.
scientific background to a labyrinth as well. You know, sometimes we think all these things are just like, oh, somebody thought this up and it came
Mhm.
from who knows where. But really, most of the time, it's very scientific. I mentioned before breathing, and I don't know if you're familiar with box breathing, but
Mhm.
the Navy SEALs use it before they dive to
Mhm.
calm their heart, to
Mhm.
get their whole system slowed down. So, you know, that's a scientific reason for learning how to do some of these things that make us stop and
Do
get
you
in
want to
touch.
show people the different ways of breathing, the box breathing, the nose breathing,
Sure.
yeah.
The, I can do the box breathing. It's on a 1, 2, 3, 4 count,
Mhm.
and it's called box breathing because I'll just explain before we start. Okay,
Mhm.
you start at the top and you breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, then breathe in for a count of 4. And it just goes around like that. So if you want to try it for a minute, do you want me to just work through it a couple times?
Absolutely. Mhm.
Okay. So we'll start. I always have to have my hand on my heart, and I don't know why, but that's automatic. So I'm in auto here. So okay, we'll start. And so it's in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. That was just 2 rounds and I'm already
I know.
relaxing.
It is so relaxing to do that. It really is. Really quickly, Bridget, you should put one in your yard. They are the most amazing things. I love doing labyrinths. And really quickly, I had my granddaughter, I took my daughter and granddaughter on a trip up kind of west side north. And so my granddaughter and I would hunt out labyrinths. So we went to like all these different labyrinths during
Oh,
our
how
path. It was
cool. What a
yeah,
great way to do it.
yeah. Go look
The
at
one that I walk on here is on the International Labyrinth Registry. It has to be a certain size and that kind of thing. But they are all over, and it's a
yeah.
wonderful experience.
And they're not that hard to make, and it's so peaceful, so peaceful.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes,
that was the box
right.
breathing.
Okay, so another breathing is called belly breathing, which
Mhm.
is means you make your abdomen come out. So I'm not very tall. So you put your hand on your chest and it
Mhm.
doesn't move.
Mhm.
Okay, so you breathe in, your stomach comes out, hold for 1 or 2 seconds, and then breathe out. And your stomach goes back, and your chest shouldn't be moving. So that takes a little practice sometimes. So let's do it. Okay, put your hand on your chest so you know that it's not moving. Hold just 1 or 2, out. And the out should be really long on this one. It should be almost twice as long as the in. You want to get all of the air out of the bottom of your lungs. That's what you're trying to do with this one. Okay, so in, hold for 1 or 2, out, out and your stomach goes back in. Isn't that wonderful?
And from my training, I'm going to say that
Oh,
we do not breathe that way normally. So we don't really fill up the lower lobes of our lungs.
right.
And that, if you have congestion or pneumonia or anything like that, that's one of the biggest things to do, because you're really filling up and you're also getting rid of a lot of the toxins and the buildup in your lungs that you're not expelling, because we don't, as human beings, we don't always breathe right. So that's very important to do.
That must be the reason that they say to breathe out twice as long as breathing in, so that you're really emptying the bottom of your lungs. Thank you for explaining that.
Yes, yes. And because people breathe very shallow, we all do breathe very shallow, and not very many people really realize you really have to make your stomach come out, because the lower lobes of your lung comes right below your ribs. So we don't use that part of our lungs. So especially if you have COVID, or and that's why it's so important to do your aerobics and stay in shape, because that's the time that you really will use your full capacity of your lungs. So if you have any kind of pneumonia or lung issue, colds, COVID, that's really important to make sure that you breathe that way.
Yeah. So, I found that I had learned those two types at a yoga class. And then when I was doing, I teach an angels class called Discover Your Angels. It's 10 different angels. And we do a meditation and journaling as well. So I was trying to find 10 different ways to teach them how to breathe. And it is amazing how much information there is on how to breathe.
Yeah. And we take it for granted because we think we're doing it. So,
yes.
How did you get into IET? I'm curious.
Let me think. Okay. Well, I've been doing Reiki, and I was a Reiki master, and I absolutely love the whole experience of the energy of Reiki. And I was working with a very wise shaman who said to me, there's another kind of energy healing that you might enjoy as well. So I said, sure, seeing as I'm learning everything now in the last few years of my life, I may as well put another thing on there. So, but I read about it and I looked at it and I thought, that's pretty interesting. And especially because it works with 9 angels. When I'm doing Reiki, I always have angels come in, and I always call for Michael and Raphael for healing, and Master Yusui often will come to a Reiki session. But I thought that would be really neat to explore more angels, because once you learn about angels, you just want to know everything. So I was intrigued by that. So I took the 1 and 2. And that was very nice. It was like, okay, I've learned this now. And then, coincidence isn't such a thing at all. There's no coincidence. I was invited to an afternoon session at a yoga master's house. And I hadn't really contacted her or been in touch with her very much. But when we did meet each other before, it was kind of like we instantly recognized that there was something between us. So when she invited me, I thought, okay, I'll go. And then this other person had the same thing happen to her. And she happened to be an IET master instructor.
Okay.
So she was sent to the house and I was sent to the house. And when I looked at her, I said, do I know you? She said, I don't think so, but I sure think I know you. So our spirits recognized each other. And then I got in, did the master, and it was all just, but if you just go with the flow and let things happen, they do.
You do. Absolutely. If we can just trust. And my favorite word, surrender, which I'm still trying to learn how to do.
Oh yeah, well, that's kind of a hard one.
It helps so when we do. What got you, and I have to say, if you guys have not had somebody do an IET therapy on you, it really is amazing. I do it. Don't do it as often as I would like to. I really need a place, because you really need to be with somebody to do that. It's not something you can really do via Zoom or whatever. No. But it is the most, if you want to really, I did session with someone once, and I was pulling out like Egyptian life stuff. And I mean, you can just go back to all kinds of lives to why they're having stuck things. And
Mhm.
it's really an amazing experience. So
Well,
go ahead.
I find it so complementary to Reiki, because
Mhm.
Reiki is
Yeah.
a very old energy.
Mhm.
And um, well, to me, there's just nothing quite like
Mhm.
that feeling. However, having the angels
Mhm.
in the IET, I'll be doing Reiki, and all of a sudden I get this. It happened today. It was
Mhm.
like, okay, the shoulders. There's a whole lot of should sitting there that
Mhm.
need to be lifted. So
Yeah.
I just, switch into some IET, because I prepare my room. I have
Mhm.
a treatment room right here, so I
Mhm.
prepare my room with both, everything for either kind of healing. I'm
Mhm.
just open to healing. So today, okay, so we had the shoulds. So the shoulds
Yeah.
came off the shoulders.
So Bridget is asking, what's the difference between all the different types of Reiki? Does it matter what kind of Reiki you do? Is
Are
there?
you thinking of, like, I'm trained in Usui Reiki. There's Holy Fire Reiki. Is that the question?
I believe that's what she's saying. There are many, and I believe it comes from the different areas or types of people that, like, shamanics will have their own way of doing something, or
Right.
what I mean. It comes from the heritage, I think.
Yeah. I guess I feel like I'm a little prejudiced in that area, in
Mhm.
that the master that taught me was taught directly by William Rand, who was only two down from
Mhm.
Master Usui.
Mhm.
So I always, Master Usui is who really brought it out
Mhm.
in his lifetime. And then it was brought to the United States by a lady whose name I forget at this moment, but it was in 1932, and she kept it so secretive. It was like really not talked about, and in order to become a master, you had to pay like $10,000 or
Oh
something
my!
crazy. And this was back in the 30s and 40s. Okay,
Wow.
so she was keeping it really for herself.
Mm.
But when there is something that spirit wants
Mhm.
disseminated, eventually it got out. So
Yeah.
there's Holy Fire, which is developed by, it's more with the Tibetan influence from William Rand.
Mhm.
There's other kinds, I think, that it depends on the lineage where it's come
Mhm.
down from. But
That's right.
Reiki as an energy is the same Reiki, no matter what other criteria you involve in it,
Mhm.
because once you have been attuned to Reiki energy, it's there,
Yeah.
you know. And so I don't, I'm going to take Holy Fire Reiki as a training, only because I'm interested in that idea as well. It's a little bit different process near the end, but it's the same energy. It's like IET energy. It's angel energy. It's God energy. So we call it different names and we use it differently, but basically it's divine energy being used to educate and to heal.
That is the main comment right there. And that's what everybody needs to know. And thank you for that question, Bridget, because that was really a good question, because it really is all energy. All things are energy.
Yes.
And it's how, because we're all different, we're all made differently for different reasons. And so we're all going to resonate to different things. Like
Absolutely.
I am trained in Reiki, but I don't use Reiki. I love
Mhm.
being trained in it, and it was something that I loved going through. But I also was trained in IET, and I loved that because I have more of a connection, I think, with angels like you do. So it just resonated with me more than the Reiki.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, I feel like, we're all here for a reason. So we're all going to be drawn to different things for our particular reason.
Right. And I think the to me the most important thing is not to get all hung up on a title of it or
Mhm.
a kind of it. Um, I am kind of in favor of the Usui Reiki, because I feel that it saved me. It saved
Mhm.
my life, and it
Yeah.
gave me so much. So you have to, forgive me for that. But in actuality, energy is energy.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter. And what appeals to you might not appeal to the next person. So I think it's good to have a lot of different things around.
Right. I agree with you. And I love what you said. I think, you gravitate to what works for you because you got into it for a specific reason. It
Yes.
doesn't make everything else wrong, because
Yeah.
healing comes in so many different ways. You can heal with just your hands. You can
Absolutely.
heal with your voice. You can heal with a hug. You can heal with just sitting with somebody and being there for them. There's so many ways to heal, and we try. And a part of it has to do with money.
Mhm.
If I have this special name that everybody thinks is woo woo and amazing,
Mhm.
then I'm going to charge more money than I'm going to heal you with my hands. You know what I mean? So it's all
Yes.
about what works for you and what resonates for you.
Right. And I I do both distant
Hmm.
Reiki and distant IET. Um, Less IET, but Reiki I find very easy to do distant. And right now my daughter is just been diagnosed in November with stage 3 breast cancer. So
No.
yeah, we didn't need that.
Oh,
However, she said, she's got her journal. She's already writing her book.
good. Well,
She's always wanted to write a book. So, but
you've been through it, so you're going to know how to help her maneuver through that one and just stay positive.
it's been very gratifying to me because she'll say, how did this feel when, what happened when this happened or whatever. And it's been very nice. We're very close anyway, even though we live 3,000 miles apart. But to be able to help her with some of these obstacles that have come up, and it's and she's such a strong woman. Oh, I admire her so much. She's tough.
Well, we will all send definitely healing love and prayers for her. Because
Thank
if you
you.
think about it, like you went through your journey for a reason, and you
Yes.
were you were in really dire straits, and look, you're where you're at today. And so we all
Yes.
have a purpose and a reason. So
Hmm.
we all can do good. So we just have to be positive, and if you don't think that just sending positive energy doesn't work, then you're wrong, because it does. It really
Right.
does.
My husband would say to me, I don't understand how you can send Reiki to so and so over there. And I said, I heard you praying this morning and I heard you mention her name. Why did you bother saying a prayer for her if it's not going to help her? And he said, okay, valid point. Because isn't that what we're doing when we're praying?
Yeah.
We're asking the universe, God, whatever being you want to call, to take our intention and apply it in another person's life if it's for their greatest good.
Well, what I've had a lot of experience with people that believe that if I put out this prayer, and if I'm putting out this healing, and I do a healing circle, and if I do it at the same time every day, this person's going to be better. But that's not what healing is. It's
No,
exactly what you said. What is in their highest good? Because sometimes the highest good is for that person to be finished with their life. And we have to give that intention to what is in the highest good in the universe, not in our own little world. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's something that
I
we can
mean,
do.
I talk about that in my book. If I would have got the answer that it was my time to die,
Mhm.
that still would have been okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. I am looking forward to what I'm going to learn in the next life. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many more things that maybe I can learn how to sing, or maybe I'll be playing the piano, or be a jet fighter. I don't know.
You're already more brave than I am, because I'm sitting there going, don't do it again. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Don't come back again. Remember, I'm like, that's my mantra right now,
Oh
Joe.
no, I'm not ready for that at all. I'm ready to come back and try something new. Let's do it.
I have the wrong and bad attitude. I'll tell you that.
No, you have what is right for you, JoAnne.
Yes, I do.
So, like, to me, I've never been afraid of death.
Uh-huh.
Never.
Yeah.
I have been with a lot of family as they're passing, and it has been the most absolutely,
Mhm.
uh, I can't even, it just gives me such goosebumps when I think of actually, I held my brother-in-law's hand and saw his spirit leave his body, and the peace and the joy that was there as he was moving from, this body that was racked with pain and cancer to freedom. And I could just see it and feel it. It is such a privilege to be with someone when they're at their final stages. And it's okay. Like I had to tell him many times that it was okay. He could go. It was all right.
And I know that as humans in general, unless you really have a good connection to your spiritual family, it is scary to think about dying. And I'm like you, I'm not afraid of dying anymore. I'm not at all. I look forward to that day when my time comes. I'm not going to.
I'm not out to do it tomorrow.
It up, but yeah, exactly. Yeah. But when my time comes, I'm totally ready for that, because my problem is coming back. I'm with Eddie. I did the wrong measurements of everything, but when I don't want to come back and do it again. But I do interviews occasionally with people who go into trance and their guides from the other side. So one time I asked if that was something that we would actually do, because I even said, this is what I do. I don't want to do this again. I'm going to try to remember that. And he's like, oh, forget it. You're going to do it again. Because we choose something to learn from. But when we go back home, we have all great knowledge and wisdom to what the whole purpose and plan was. So we understand everything better. Right. So then it's not quite so scary and hard on the other side, right?
Yeah. And there's some books called, one's called The Journey of Souls. Michael, something.
I don't remember his name. It's a fabulous book. Yes.
Fabulous. And there's the second book of that. He's no longer alive. But one of the things he says in there, it's on page 309. My friend just texted me yesterday and said, did you read this? Because it said, when you're a Reiki healer or any type of healer, now you will be that. You have been it many times. You've been a shaman. You've been all your life, you've been a healer. When you have that healing quality, apparently it sticks. So don't plan on it, JoAnne. You're going to be back here healing.
I'm totally listening to you, but I'm getting the information on that. It is Journey of the Soul by Michael Newton. And he has 2 books. Here's this is the book. And it's a fabulous book. He was like, oh shoot, I can't think of his name. He interviewed people that were crossing over. And so he put them in hypnosis. That's what he did. He hypnotized
super. He went into their super conscious.
He went into their and interviewed them through there and talked to them. So this is their experience that they went through as they crossed over, what they experienced. It's an amazing book. It's really fascinating.
It totally changed my husband's life. Yeah. Because he was really afraid of dying.
Wow.
And now he says, I'm ready. I know what I'm going to do. I don't know what, I just will put one foot in front of the other and on to the next.
Yeah.
And it's just so comforting to finally come to that realization.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It really is. And the other thing that helps me in this life, though, is to realize that this is the illusion. This is not the real thing. We don't die. No. We will just go home and still be alive in energy form. So, when I first started my spiritual path, you always get that question, can they see us in the shower? Can they see us, whatever, doing the things we don't want anybody to see us do? And I used to I don't know, don't ask me these questions. I don't understand it. But now I understand it's all energy. They're just seeing energy because we know we're human bodies, but they're seeing our energy. They're not seeing our human body or what we're doing. Yes.
No. And it's all, and there's not any restriction. It's like, I don't know if you ever followed Cryon, who was channeled by Lee Carroll. And he says, if you only knew how much we love you, how much we love all of you, that you would never be afraid or doubtful again. And so that's so wonderful to me. To know that there are myriads and myriads of angels
Yes.
around, loving us,
Mhm.
ready to help. I have a little note here on my keyboard which says, "The angels are right here waiting for me to ask for help."
And that's important.
And
We have to ask.
we have free will, and they are not allowed to interfere.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes it's hard, but you get better and better at it as you go along. We
I
are
like,
here,
I
Pam,
like,
having a human experience. So that's right.
yes.
Go ahead.
I like what Kyle Gray says, like if you're not asking the angels for help, you're leaving them unemployed.
I know, right? I love that.
It's
That
like,
is so perfect. It really is. So, so what would your and hello, Janet from Sweden. It's nice to have you here. What is your last words of wisdom that you would like people to know?
oh, last words of wisdom. That sounds very ominous.
A lot of pressure on that question, isn't that?
No. I think that the thing that I talk a lot about is being grateful. Being grateful every
Yeah.
day. Find something. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrations, and once you start to live in that high vibration, it's no fun down in the other ones that happen now and then. So I really think that we need to make the choice to
Mhm.
find something to be grateful for. Even if, oh, I got a load of laundry done today.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
it doesn't have to be a big thing,
Mhm.
but just and cultivate a really good attitude about things. It's difficult. And I know some people have depression, and it's a disease that's really right now very rampant with so many
Absolutely.
people
Mhm.
having COVID and having stayed home. And that's a different thing that needs to be treated. But if you're just feeling a little down someday, do
Mhm.
something for someone else.
Mhm.
Just find a phone call, something.
I agree with what you said too, though, on the other side of it, sometimes it's just like being grateful you took that breath, being
Yes,
grateful that you're sitting where you are right now. Sometimes that's all you can do. And
yes,
sometimes you can reach outside of yourself and do for others. Because I
yeah,
was thinking, what you said is so true about the angels and the whole universal consciousness beings, all the energies. They really do love us, and so they're our soul family. They're family
yes,
to us. The problem that we have is what you just said about being human, right? We can get so much into that experience of being human that we do deal with depression or anger or even ego or a gamut. There's a gamut of emotions that we could deal
yes,
with. And they're
yes,
all a part of our human experience to learn. So it's not that we say, oh, I'm just human, so therefore I can be a jerk. It's about what am I learning from this and how can I change? And that's where it comes into having that partnership like you developed with your guides and your angels to get through
yes,
whatever that lesson is that you're going through. Gratitude is number one.
yes. And I can tell you there was many times when I was hugging the
Mhm.
white monster in the bathroom and not being able to even stand up, that I was not grateful at
I'm
all.
sure. Oh my God.
But later I would be able to take a medication or something, and it would get the nausea under control. And then I'd say, oh, I'm so glad that there is that,
Yes,
available.
yes. And sometimes even if you're lying,
Yeah, that's right.
which
Cryon
we've all
says
done.
that. He says, like, if you're not getting it, just do it anyway.
Yes, exactly. And because you're creating, it's that back to creating what you think, right?
Yeah,
You create now a more positive direction forward, at least at
yeah.
one small area.
But
So
just reach for gratitude on the smallest things,
mhm,
and don't be afraid to meditate either.
exactly. Oh, meditation is so important. And breathing.
And breathing. See,
Yeah,
we covered all sorts of things tonight.
we really did.
So if you want to read my book, it's available on Amazon.
I love it. Thank you. You also, though, you're actually a part of this wonderful book.
Oh, yes, I sure am. Yes. Actually, I contributed to 6 books before I actually gave in and wrote my own.
Yeah, I need to do that. Everybody's been on me about doing that. In our own and right time, that's when it will happen.
Right,
So
right.
thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your stories and the courage to go on through your story of how you stuck to your gut. You followed your path no matter what anybody else thought, and it worked for you. And that's what I think that's all we can do is the best we can do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So thank you so much for having me. I
Thank you.
really appreciate it. And thank you all of you for your lovely questions. It was good.
We didn't answer all of them. We got some of them, but we did see all of your comments. So thank you. All right, everybody. Have a good night and take care.
Thank you. Bye.